The first Sunday after Pentecost is always Trinity Sunday, and it's a solemnity of the church. So the Trinity, some people think it's three people in one God. No, it's three persons. Does that give you clarity? Well, not exactly. The readings are helpful. I want to spend a little time with Moses going up the mountain, and if you allow me, let's call that a liturgy. Moses is encountering God's encountering Moses. So Moses goes up the mountain, and I highly recommend reading the first reading, listening to it. He goes up the mountain carrying his tablets representing the law, and he's standing there beginning the liturgy, and then God appears, not as a person or a people, but as a mystery, and passes in front of Moses, and God declares, the Lord, the Lord. He pronounces the name. I am the mighty one. I am the creating, ever-creating God. Moses, at that, as part of his liturgical response, bows down and asks God then, would you please come, make us your people. We are headstrong and stiff-necked, and we are self-centered. Come and be our companions and help us be your people. You're declaring yourself, God, as merciful, slow to anger, full of fidelity. Come and be with us. Moses at the liturgy does not solve who God is. Moses does not solve it, but receives whom God says God is by what God does. So that's a wonderful liturgy site, and little by little, people of Israel let God be their God. Accompany us, please. The Trinity, I do quite a bit of marriage preparation, especially with young people, graduates of Creighton University here. And eventually, I have a little love seat in my office, and I have them sit together when they're going through what we call the focus, questions and things. And before we start, I said, I always ask, why do you love her? And then I'll ask, why do you love him? And sometimes they have really beautiful reasons. All kinds of sense of humor, pretty, shapely, fun to be with, intelligent, all kinds of good reasons. And then there are the couples that say, I don't know exactly, I can't explain it. It's beyond words. And they usually both agree, it's just. That's really where we are with the Trinity. It's just beyond. Things are easy to figure out, and I've probably said this before, but mysteries are not to be figured out. Moses does not figure out God. Moses asks God to come and do revelation, do God. So in this relationship that the ideal couple that they don't have good reasons, evidence. They surrender to the mystery of each other. Remember in Genesis it said, the two shall become one? The one becomes a union of the two. So there is this one, and then there is the one that is the two, if that makes sense. That if you love someone, the more you love, the more there is a third. It might be children, but it might not. But they are now a union that is expressive of the two now being one. So if you love something, your love for that doesn't change that. You love it. Maybe you made it. Maybe you made a cake and you want to share the cake. The you and the cake, and then the union between the two of you wants to share. That's somehow the Trinity. Don't define it. Don't confine it. God never chose. Maybe I should just say this. God doesn't have a choice, ever. God doesn't choose the sunrise today. God is. God doesn't have a choice. His isness is the Trinity. That love reveals itself, and the two become the spirit of letting there be revelation. That's as close as I can get to explaining the Trinity. I'm not going to explain the Trinity. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to bow down like Moses did before the mystery of God and ask God, however you are, Trinity God, keep being, not keep choosing. And so in a sense, God did not choose Israel. God did not choose, despite what my Irish grandmother said, that God chose the Irish. No, God doesn't have a choice. God is, and his isness is his, if you want to say, his isness, his being is a choice. And the choice, the being of God is constant creational love. So we're going to this liturgy of the Eucharist. And like Moses, we come into the mystery in the presence of God. And we say, God, let us receive or help us receive that you are our companions, that we have times of stiff-necked hard-heartedness. And you are merciful, and your love says, I keep creating you. I don't choose to create you. I am creating you. That's who I am. Even my forgiveness of you is my creation of you. And so this couple, loving each other, not having good reasons, they didn't figure each other out. They allowed the mystery of each other to be the mystery of who they are as one. What are we receiving in this Eucharist? Not by God's choice, but by God's very existence. We belong to God, not by God's choice, but by who God is. And in receiving the Eucharist, we are receiving another identification of who God is with us and for us. We go to the liturgy, like Moses, to go back down out of the church, out of the holy room, to continue God's trinification, blessing, creating, of all those whom we meet and for whom we pray.